Well, good morning, Joy Nook Club. Welcome to our second book club episode, broadcast, podcast, you name it. That's where we're at today. I mean, darlings, last week we had a wonderful journal. I hope that you have already taken part in trying to find that, get that, read that, write in that, do whatever you need to do. But girl, get it. I'm telling you, don't wait. It's up in the guide section for you to get. Today, we have Ruth Proctor. And before we get started, I want to give you a little something that I read before we even get started so that you can see where we're coming from, okay? It's been time after time, and you still haven't made it your priority to make sure I'm satisfied and happy on all fronts, and I'm sick of it. I'm done with that. If you can't take care of me and make sure I'm satisfied and happy, just as I do you, we are wasting each other's time. I refuse to be unhappy and tell you what I need, and you still do nothing. I continue to put my feelings and pride to the side and let you have things your way when I'm crying inside. Ruth Proctor. It is my honor and my pleasure to be able to interview her today. Y'all see the cover. I'm telling you, fire, hot. I mean, I don't know about y'all, okay? And I even told her before we even got started, I was stalking her, okay? And when I found her, I said, hmm, this might be good for the Joy Nook Club. I wonder if she's ready for us. But then I looked at this cover and said, ooh, are we ready for her? And I think you are. I think you are going to get some good, juicy bits out of this interview today. I want to tell you a little bit about her before we even get started. Ruth Proctor is a serial entrepreneur. And I'm gonna let you know right now, because of my mama, I'm coming back to that because she's gonna say, daughter, why you didn't ask that baby what serial entrepreneur was? Because you know I don't know, even though other people know. So we're going to come back to that. She is a mom and a survivor through a series of devastating events, including molestation, domestic violence, and infidelity. She developed tenacity, perseverance, and a toolkit of survival skills that she shares with others. Fashion, art, and music. Her passion for this was all steered by her natural parents' infinite appetite for the arts. She enjoys serving others through her nonprofit organization, Building Foundations Together, Inc. Ruth Proctor's life is a testament to her favorite biblical passage. And I want y'all to keep this in mind because that's what we're here for in the Joy Nook Club. You know, our faith fuels our passion, and our passion moves our purpose. And that's what she did. She shifted, y'all. She shifted. And that's what we're all about. Biblical passage. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians, and y'all better be saying it with me because they all act like y'all haven't been in church in a while, but y'all know good and well. Philippians, let's say it together. 4:13. If anybody has is new to Christ, you know folks be giving you that verse because I know my mama, she gave me that verse too. She was really trying to tell me to get my life together, but you know how that goes, y'all. Okay, but 4:13. I'm telling you, I'm excited to have her just give us some juicy bits and things from her book, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the mic to Ruth Proctor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or ladies and gentlemen. Um, Me, myself, and I was born to a couple from two different walks of life, two different views of their future in 1982. My father is from Maryland, and my mother is a small town country girl from North Carolina. My parents resided with my maternal grandmother until my dad's abrupt departure. By 1984, my dad had moved out and left my mom, booking it straight to Raleigh, North Carolina. My grandmother then took care of me until her death in 1987. My grandparents were super cool to me. They were perfect. My grandparents worked for the local factory in the town for years. My grandmother, Eleanor, taught me the fundamentals of life while sitting around the kitchen table. She taught me how to fight, not to take shit from anyone, and not to let anyone walk over me. Eleanor was a warrior, married to George, who was not a walk in the park. He had affairs with various women in the city, which was the utmost disrespect. She fought that until her dying day, leaving an image embedded in my head of what not to allow from any man. Everyone knew about the infidelity, but no one spoke on it. There were times we would be out in the community and see him with his mistress. It was a small town. My grandmother sang the lead in a group with her sisters. Singing was a family cornerstone for us, passed down generation after generation. Through the good, the bad, and the ugly, singing brought us to the other side of whatever we faced. Survival tip 1: against the odds, leap past the critics and move forward. Love yourself. There is no one in the universe as special as you. You are one of a kind. Little Ruth, as my family calls me. A year after my grandmother died, things began to shift. The support my mother once had was no more. My grandfather was running the streets, so she was not monitored at all. My mother battled with schizophrenia escalated. According to DPH Health, schizophrenia is a long-term medical disorder of a type of involved breakdown in the relations between thought and emotion and behavior, leading to perception, inappropriate actions, and feeling withdrawal from reality and personal relationships into fantasy and delusions, and a sense of mental fragmentation. I noticed even as a kid, something was not right with my mom. I would observe her speaking to and pointing at the light in the kitchen and living room, calling them names and yelling in the middle of nowhere, banging on doors and walls because voices in her head were telling her to do so. I began to watch my mom unravel right before my eyes. I recall neighbors and family members calling the police due to her unfit behavior and concerns for our safety. My mom would sometimes dress me in my grandmother's old performance dresses and stand me on the roof of the house to take pictures. She called me her baby doll, little Eleanor. My mom, boy, where do I start? She's a mess. I would love to be I will love her to the moon and back, but she is a handful. My mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia when I was 5. I did not understand the symptoms and issues she was enduring as a kid. I knew she was dealing with something that affected the whole family and me. My mom would spend most of her days going on a tangent for hours. I did not know what she was talking about or whom she was talking to. There were times I was hungry and I would go to my cousin Joyce's house. They would make sure I ate. They would also make sure I was safe. My mom could not do for herself at times, let alone me. By the time my brother had arrived, I realized I had to look out for him too. He was a baby. Hell, I was a baby. I was a baby who knew a little more than she should and had seen more than she should. My mom worshiped the ground my brother and I walked on. But when her sickness took over, she was evil. I watched police drag my mom out of our family home, holding all 4 of her limbs, kicking and screaming while Child Protective Services hauled me and my brother away. My mother would outsmart them and run when she felt the police were coming to get her. We would sleep in the car for days. Sometimes we would stay at the homeless shelter so the police would not take us from her. One night, we did not get into the shelter on time and had to sleep on the bus bench. My mom was a fighter, and she did not want Child Protective Services or any police department to take us from her. So she did what she felt was best. Eventually, we did end up in foster care. Our first foster family was loving and kind, but it was temporary foster placement. Warrenton, North Carolina was our next stop. Arriving at a gigantic house with way more kids than appropriate. 10 kids are a lot for any foster or biological parent to manage. All the kids that resided there were permanent or temporary foster kids, including my brother and me. I was placed in the attic of the large home. I remember a couple girls staying in the attic with me, but they were placed with other families or reunified with their parents. The attic was dreadful for a little girl. From the creak of the stairs at night to the wind blowing on the old window panes, I was terrified. Thank God for Chubby and prayer. Spirituality was embedded in my family. It was a part of my Southern lifestyle. Once our natural family realized we were in foster care, efforts to place us with them began. My mother's sisters agreed to separate us. I would go to one state and my brother another. Separation is never a promising idea. Keeping siblings together is most ideal. Families need to be together as much as possible. According to the child welfare studies, reunification is key in any healthy family unit. Eventually, my mother's first cousin, Mama B, and her husband, Daddy G, rescued us. Once they became our foster parents, my mom had a new obsession, demanding they give us back. She grew angry and frustrated about the changes in our living arrangement. Months later, my mom was released, and we began having visits with her in hopes of reunification. We could visit her for weeks at a time over several months. Then one day, my mom was scheduled to drop us back off at Mama B and Daddy G house. She was off that day. She parked in front of the house, and I remember telling her she was tripping. I told my brother, who was sitting in the front seat, to come on and go inside with me. He did it. I knew that I knew what time it was then. I proceeded into the house to tell Mama B that my brother was still in the car and my mom was having one of her unstable days. Hours passed and he had not come in. My mom had taken him. The next day, she was in on a high-speed chase with the police, which led to a wreck. She was arrested on the scene. During the chase, my brother was thrown from the car and was airlifted to the local hospital. My mother's parental rights were taken. While residing with my cousin, she allowed my dad to come visit. Mama B wanted me to spend time with my dad and his family, especially my uncle Braxton, my dad's baby brother, because he was present from day one. She felt it was the right thing to do, and I appreciated that. Uncle Braxton was a special soul who had no kids. While my dad was absent, he tried to fill in for him. He was he consistently kept in contact with me and made sure he got me together when I was out of line, not calling him like I should. During my preteen years, my dad and uncle shared an apartment together. So I would see my dad because of my uncle at times. Some holidays and whenever he had time, Uncle Braxton would take me to Maryland to visit their side of the family. He is the main reason I have a relationship with that side of the family even now. Uncle Braxton and I would often clash about the absence and lack of involvement of my father. I wanted more. He would always say, "But you have me." That was great. But children yearn for a relationship with their parents, even if they are not good ones. I felt that impact of having him profoundly when he died. I was pregnant with my first child, and his death broke my heart. Give your flowers to the people while they are alive, because you never know when they will not be able to smell them. When I was 10, my dad had gotten me for a couple weeks during the summer. Dad and I were walking around Raleigh. He never got a license, and from time to time would use public transportation. So we walked all the time. As we walked, he drank. On the way back to his apartment, he was stumbling all over himself. Once in the apartment, he started wrestling with me and pinned my arm behind my back. I yelled, "My arm! My arm! My arm is broken." He did not believe me. A few minutes later, one of his girlfriends, Pearl, came over. They disappeared into the bedroom and closed the door. I banged and I banged on the door for an hour, crying. My arm hurts. Eventually, Uncle Braxton came home and took me to the emergency room. My arm was placed in a cast and sling for the summer. When I returned to Mama B's house, she was pissed that I had gotten hurt and no one told her. And because I was not supposed to be with my dad, since he had given up his rights, I made up a story about me falling. But she did not believe it. I was protecting him and still trying to ensure I could see my father when I visited Uncle Braxton. I love my dad, and I knew if I told my cousin the truth that I would never see him again. Later in life, I told her the truth. Before settling in my mom's family, Before settling with my mom's family, my uncle and dad apparently looked into getting custody of me while I was still in temporary foster care. I could not wait to tell my friends at school that I was finally going to live with my biological father. That would never come true. My father relinquished his rights, his parental rights, and my uncle could not do it alone. I was angry. How could he? He relinquished his rights to support me financially and legally. He removed himself from my existence. I did not respect that. Loyalty is everything. I was young, but I understood morals and principles. It was my reality, and my life went on with him living his life comfortably in his decision. I was not comfortable with it though. Even though my brother and I were safe and in a good place, I would cry at night, listen to music, and write songs. Funny, the things that were my father's were the same things that became my therapy. Mama B enrolled me in many sports as a kid: soccer, basketball, softball, and even cheerleading. I was also exposed to an array of instruments growing up. Daddy G had a full band in his day and could play all the instruments. I tried to do the same, but finally narrowed down my likes to a saxophone in middle school. But by high school, I was over it. I started modeling at about 9 years old with a good friend for Barbara Zahn and later John Casablanca. I was always involved in local talent shows. I was a part of the Eastern Star's Babies. The Order of the Eastern Star is a Masonic appendant body open to both men and women. I participated in so many of their events, it's hard to remember them all. In seventh grade, I found a new passion: playing volleyball. Devastated that I didn't make the cheerleading team with my friends. I tried out for volleyball and made the team. My sophomore and junior year, I participated in track and field as well. I was always doing something to stay active in my school and community. I started the peer mediation group at my high school during my junior year and kept it going until I graduated in 2001. One of the most amazing highlights of my high school year was a historic event. Daddy G asked me if I wanted to tag along to Washington, D.C. for the Million Man March. We packed up with four other adults, including my Mama B. I experienced history that will leave a mark on me for years to come. At some point, our cousin Daddy G and Mama B were given the option to adopt us. I recall them asking me, "How do you feel? Do you want to take our last name?" It was a full out process, and it was bittersweet. I felt torn that I was not with my immediate family and torn that my mom would be alone. The process was long and tiring, going back and forth to social services and constantly talking with them. Our adopted parents had to make sure the house was up to par for our adoption. That meant structure and stability. They passed that with flying colors. We are legally adopted. Even with my newfound family, I still yearn for my parents. My life would have been totally different if I would have stayed with my mother or her father, who were unstable and could not take care of me. I often think about how it must have been for my cousin Kima, who lived with my mom and her illness all her childhood. You see, my aunt moved back to my grandparents' house along with her daughter Kima. They lived there until she finished high school. So Kima witnessed the severity of my mom's illness many times. I question how unhealthy that environment must have been for her. I often think how terrifying it must have been hearing my mom talk to voices in her head. Considering their relationship, living with my dad, I was terrifying for my mom. We had neither of them in any full or safe capacity. I felt cheated, abandoned, and hurt. I felt empty and confused. I dealt with that for years. I felt alone, even in a house full of love and care. Even though I was with my family, I felt abandoned. My mom lost us and my dad gave me up. It just didn't make sense. I found out my mom was pregnant with my little sister when I was 13. Two kids taken from you, and now there will be a third. Boy, I fussed and argued with my mom. How could she be so careless and selfish? Why would she put another child in the position to be taken? We had been through enough, and to bring another child into this equation was not an option. I did not want the child to endure my reality or worse. I was scared for him or her, but insisted and promised all would be well. I was always the adult, even as a kid, especially with my mom illness. So when I found out at 13 she was pregnant again, I was livid. Why would you bring another child into dysfunction? That was what I thought when she was expecting my little sister, Heaven. During this time, my mom was extremely ill. She was drinking crushed glass and was on a lot of medication. I was worried about her and my new sibling. I remember talking to my adopted mom about it, and she said, I can't take no more kids. I've raised all of y'all, and I'm getting old. I counter her words. I know, but I will help. I'm at an age where I can help. Take care of her. She said no at first, but later she agreed to get my sister once my mom went into labor with her. I went to the hospital to get her along with Mama B. My biological mom would never be able to provide for her. So this made sense, and thank God my cousin agreed. We were all together. She came home and was a colic baby due to all the medication and mess my mom was taking. She had some challenges, but she's a fighter. Once I began to drive, I was tasked with getting my sister dressed for the day, for daycare before school, and dropping her off. It was a lot for a teenager, but I always was mature and dependable. I felt responsible for my siblings since my mom could not be. From what I remember, that's always been my attitude about my brother and Heaven. God didn't promise days without sorrow, but he did promise a shield for the rain. I have other siblings on my dad's side. I'm the eldest to them all. They too tragically grew up in a foster care with their aunt. It was time for prom, then cap and gown for my senior year in high school. I needed help buying everything. I called my aunt Dawn and my mom's sister, and she sent me $170 to buy the dress of my dreams. That meant a lot to me, even though she was far away. If my mom or I called, she was there. Ironically, I won prom queen. I called my dad to help me with $75 for my cap and gown, and he said, I don't have it. I yelled, You don't have it? I lost it. I became disrespectful, which is very unusual for me. I never tried to be disrespectful, no matter the foolish decisions or behavior I experienced from my parents. This was an exception. I kept yelling, You can't pay $75 for a daughter you haven't done anything for? He got quiet and finally said, I'll give you the money. From that point on, I never asked him for anything. Survival till Survival Toolkit 2. My trials birthed a resilient adult, a fighter. What's on the other end of fear is your blessing. Go get it. And I recite the Lord's Prayer daily.
I had to take myself off on mute, y'all. I got all excited.
I love it. I love it.
Woo! Hey, Ruth, thank you so much. Let me tell you something. If y'all didn't feel that as she was reading it, shame, 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 I know your name, okay? And I know I have questions, so y'all everybody know I got all say a whole bunch of extra. I'm so
Woo!
extra. I am because I do have questions because I want to make sure we let the audience. I do things right, so my producer won't be texting me because
Yeah.
texted me saying, please make sure that you read from your questions and don't deviate so that you can stay on time because we have to respect our author's time. So I am going to do such things, y'all.
Yes.
Do such things. So I do. I mean, I have, reading through it, and I know it from the perspective, like certain sections. I was just like, I was telling a Ruth, everyone, this same exact statement. I was yelling at the book like I was watching a movie, because that's what happens when you you understand, you've been there, done that, and as also a victim of domestic violence, I truly understand.
Right.
And a lot of times the face looks different, but what we go through is the same. Even now, even though we've done gotten our therapy, and we done healed, and we
Right.
like, we
Right.
like, we ain't for that, and we're not for that. Um, it still leaves marks.
It does.
And when I was reading through this, a couple of things resonated. So when you were going through the foster care process, my mother and father were foster care parents. So I actually had always had foster care children in our house.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
we were that middle ground. My mother was very adamant about being a blessing to someone else. And I think
Mhm.
that's where my spirit comes from,
Mhm.
definitely. Not that I wanted to have as many children as my mother, because she wanted a baseball team. Didn't happen, thank the Lord, because I would have been the oldest, okay?
Woo, you have been tasked with a lot.
Exactly. So, but, the things that, when I was reading, and I always would say I would say to my mother, well, if their parents can't do anything for them, why are they treating you so bad when you're trying to help them? And reading through it again, it was that question. I remember asking that question, and my mother saying, daughter,
Yeah.
they aren't angry at your
Mhm.
father and I.
Yep.
That's not what
Right.
they're angry at.
Woo.
Wouldn't you want to be with
Yes.
your parents,
Right.
no matter what they
Right.
look like, smell
Yep.
like, or do like?
Yes.
Wouldn't you want to be with them? And
Right.
I felt that,
Yeah.
when I was reading, I was just like, oh, I remember when mother
Yeah.
said that,
Yeah.
and it
It's
gave
true.
me a different compassion
Yeah.
as I was
And you
growing
got me
up.
tearing up.
Oh, look, don't worry about it, because I was over there.
You got me tearing up.
I was
I
doing
haven't
it.
had the opportunity to even have to read and to really
Right.
like have a conversation after reading. So, this is my
Hmm.
first time. So, forgive me for
Really?
getting teary eyed
Ah,
because
no, that's
I'm
okay. Then
still surviving.
but you know what? You never stop, and that's the part. I
Yes,
survived. You
yes,
can too. That resonated
yes,
when I saw that. I'm like, she's right, and you
yeah,
can, but you got
yes.
to do it.
You got to.
You can't stay. And
Right.
so I noticed something that you did throughout the book, and
Mhm.
y'all, I'm not trying to tell all everything, okay? But you several survival tips.
Yes.
Okay. And I would like to know from you, if you could read maybe three of your top three, because y'all, there's more than three in this book, and y'all see my little notes. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
if you don't have to tell us what page, because I don't want them to
Okay.
know. I
Okay.
don't want them to know all that
Okay.
stuff.
I got you.
But if you could just, pick, because I mean, when I was going through, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's how you shift. You have to have a strategy to do
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give that question to you.
So I would definitely say my some of my key survival tips are keep reinventing yourself,
Mm,
set and crush goals. I think that's continuous,
yes, yes.
and love yourself. There is no one on the earth like you. You are one of a kind.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That right there embodies my whole entire platform. Reinvent Reinventing yourself is key, because if you stay in the same place, you can't shift. Right? You can't change, you can't grow, you can't move, right? And while you were going through your reinvention, what do you think would have occurred if you continue to let fear get in the way?
I definitely wouldn't be here talking to you. I would be quiet. I would be
Right.
continuing to journal and cry at night and continue to ask God to show me signs. And all the while He was showing them to me, um, I would have continued to be pretty much unhappy,
Right.
and not having a voice. And I might have would have exploded at some point. You know, Therapy taught me a lot. And I think that, because of that, I have been able to speak and I have been able to, you know, just like right then I got teary eyed, but I bounced back. I'm used to coping. I'm
Right.
used to surviving. So
Hmm.
it's normal for me to be upset and then keep on moving. The
Right.
next, what we got to do. So I think that I would have continued to cope the way that I do,
Hmm.
but internally, I probably would have eventually exploded.
Gotcha. So I hear you talk about that you got therapy. Was there anything else that really helped you through this time, and through those times, those tough times, the and because y'all gotta read, because there's not just the beginnings and the middles and the ends. There's
Yes,
bits and pieces in between that as
yes,
well. So what else helped you to to go through?
definitely my faith. As a since I was 2 years old, I've known God. I mean, I
That's
probably knew Him
that's
before I was two.
mhm,
But that has always been the cornerstone of my family. We
right,
grew up in the church, we sang in the church, we ushered, we volunteered.
right.
Church was a part of my life. So my faith definitely kept me grounded. And
Mhm.
God kept beating at me to do this book. Kept beating at me, kept beating at me. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. Oh, I'm very private. I don't want to talk to
Right,
people.
right, right.
And He's continued to put me in, these rooms.
Mhm.
So definitely faith, definitely, my spirituality. My
Okay.
kids keep me grounded. I
Mhm.
got to keep pushing. I can't sit down. I can't be depressed. I got to keep
Right,
moving.
right.
So definitely those two things for sure, for sure.
Wonderful.
And the support
Wonderful.
system that God placed in my life outside of my family.
Mhm. So your circle,
Yes,
that
circle
that
of
helps you.
support.
Circle of support. Very
Yeah,
good. Very good. I know every author has that backstory,
yeah.
and when you get the story right in your hand,
Hmm.
it's totally different. Like you don't have to, there's certain
Right.
questions you're not going to ask, because reading a book will get you there. It's
True.
going to get you through the process. So another question that I do have for you is, what do you hope that readers take away from reading your book?
That you are amazing,
Mhm.
no matter your story, no matter what anyone has said to you, no matter what life has thrown at you. You are beautiful and you are here for a reason. We are all here for a purpose, and it's something that you're supposed to be doing. And if you are silent, you need to speak. And if you're not speaking loud enough, you need to get louder.
Right.
And
Hmm.
we all have a reason to be here.
Right.
We all have a reason. And the main thing in the book is about finding purpose and not being quiet and not let anyone quiet you and
Right.
make you be quiet.
Right.
And that you can get through this no matter what's in front of you. If it's in front of you, God put something inside of you to get to the next side.
Hmm.
And as
Hmm.
long as you can see a light, even if you can't see one, as long as you know that there's a light
Right.
and you speak positive and you be positive no matter what's in front of you, that you can get to the other side and you can still be successful no matter what your life starts out as. It can
Right.
end successful.
Did you see yourself here? Did you see
No,
yourself here?
I will say I didn't see myself here, but God showed me
Right.
stuff. But I was just like, I was in denial. I'm still just in awe. I'm still in awe in what he's doing.
Right. So I know because I actually just finished. I wrote a book, and I had my launch party in like 2 weeks.
Yes,
And
congratulations.
thank
Yes,
you,
I
thank you.
love it.
And I know as I was writing, I will say this because this was going leading into my next question
Mhm.
for you. When did you realize you're a writer? When did you realize that?
Whew. I want to say even at times now I'm like, you're not an author. Like you did not write a book. Like I think it's something that you eventually, accept.
Right.
But, I'm still battling with that one. I have been a worker my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
So, stepping into a different realm and, I'm educated. I went to college. I got, 2 bachelors. I have a master's.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't really consider myself to be like the best writer. Thank God for, proofreaders and, um, but I had a publishing company, edit my book. Thank God for
Uh-huh.
line editing and detail
Right.
editing,
Right.
because I did have struggles at times when it came to where does this go, where does that go, and having an
Right.
editor was helpful. But I would
Mm-hmm.
say, the jury's still out on that one. I mean,
Right.
but
I'm a,
I guess the journaling, I figured it out, that I was able to pour my heart out into
Mhm.
my journals.
Right.
I just never knew that my journals would be, my
Turn
book.
into a book. Right. Turn into a book. Right.
Yes.
Because there's some sections that are journals
Yep.
entries. So
Hmm.
y'all, when I say to y'all juicy bits and things,
Yeah.
trust and believe.
Yeah.
Allenia, yes, I do be coming up with some colorful ways of saying things, but we are looking into her heart and her mind and
Yeah.
feeling the hurts,
Yeah.
feeling the pains, feeling the frustration.
Hmm.
Going, I know how she feels. Even with the age gap,
Yeah.
I understood what you were feeling at times.
Wow.
I was there, and I was just like, oh, and that's why we do what we do. But you
Right.
became a writer, my dear,
Thank you.
the day
Thank you.
that you sat down at that computer and made the decision.
Right.
Made
You're
the
right.
decision and you made it happen.
That's
That's
true.
when you became a writer. You became an author, a published author. When you hit submit.
No, look, I was just like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, I'm submitting my book.
Exactly. Like it's like, oh my goodness, is this really
Yes,
happening?
is this real?
I know
And it
that's
feels
right.
surreal.
I'm telling you. So how does your family and friends, because I know your daughters are so critical in your life and the
Mhm.
things that you do. So how does how's everyone feeling about this
My
process?
girls are so excited.
Oh,
They want to
good.
be a part of everything. And being a single mom, they are a part of everything, so
Hmm.
they're excited, but it's overwhelming at times. I'm learning to juggle, this part of my life because I am very private and I don't put my kids on social media. I don't,
Hmm.
do so many things. I really don't put my life on social media.
Right.
I only really put fashion on social media.
Hmm.
So to switch gears has been challenging, but they are all for the ride. They like, let's do YouTube.
Right.
They're like, let's record. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, they get you pumped up, don't they?
Yes, they are hilarious. So that keeps me going. My friends and family that I'm close to, they have been very supportive. My
Right.
siblings have been very supportive. My siblings on my mom's side
Hmm.
have been for sure. And just making sure that, they like speak your truth. It was pieces that I didn't put in the book. I talked to my brother and he was like, why didn't you put it in the book? Like you need to tell everything. And I was like, we're not gonna do that. So, I would definitely
Right.
say like my brother
Hmm.
and sister, have been extremely supportive when it comes to
Good.
just, do it.
Right.
And my aunts, and it's certain family members that have been there and they never left, but
Hmm.
and it's others that have never been there at all. So
Right.
I would definitely say God gives you what you need, not what you want. And
Right.
he provided a circle around me of friends and family and loved ones that pick up the pieces.
Good. And that's what I gathered as I was reading through, from the title, from the look that you gave, because
Hmm.
your cover people's cover says it all. Like, that's what makes you want to pick up the book,
That's
period,
true. That's true.
is the cover. So how do what is that saying? I don't look like what
What
I've
I've been
been
through.
I don't look
Whew.
like what I've been through. And and you sure do, you did, girlfriend, okay? You served up, okay,
Thank you.
on this, okay? You served up. I as when it got to me,
Yes.
and I was looking at my team and I said, okay. So the producer was like, okay, I already had this many books. So can someone else? And I said, so who wants to read it? All the hands went up. So
Wow.
hands went up.
Wow.
So I was just like, okay.
Oh man, that's amazing.
And which is good. And I do. I mean, just to be able to share this work,
Thank you.
it's important. It's important. And I know sometimes when you're in certain platforms and telling your story, some people say, I'm so glad you had courage to tell your story.
Hmm. Right.
And I don't want people to have courage. I want you to tell your story,
Right.
because your story, someone else can definitely, it can resonate with someone else, or
Right.
of someone that's going through that
Right.
or has gone through that.
Hmm.
And, so I'm going to say, instead of, I'm so glad you were brave enough. No, I'm going to say, I'm so glad you chose this time to do it.
Thank you.
I am so glad.
Thank
But
you.
I can't let you off the line without asking my mama's question, because I know she's gonna ask the question. She's gonna be like, "What do you say?" Because she went and went on, and now she's a member of my Facebook group. She
Hey,
gonna
mom.
because she's just like, I don't want to miss a thing. Now
Right.
she been dipping on it, dipping.
I love it.
She's been on for about 4 or 5 days, and she been in there. When the interview's gonna start, like,
Oh wow, I love
she's
it.
ready. So, but I know she's gonna ask this question.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say to you, serial entrepreneur. What
Mhm.
does that mean to you?
Serial entrepreneur means that you juggle multiple businesses.
Hmm.
You are the boss of those businesses. You manage multiple people.
Hmm.
Um, you definitely, are juggling multiple things.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it seems like it's been all I know. At
Hmm.
14, I worked 3 jobs. At 14, I worked in my, adopted dad's restaurant.
Right.
So being an entrepreneur is just a serial entrepreneur. It's just normal for me. It's just, you know, pick up this don't work. Okay, we're gonna try something else. Okay, okay, that didn't work. Okay, we all right. So we're gonna figure this out. Okay, what we gonna do?
Right.
Listen, we're doing multiple things, multiple tasks, multiple businesses, and trying to do them successfully and learning from mistakes. And when
Hmm.
one business doesn't work, picking up the pieces to that and doing something else and still being an entrepreneur.
Right, right. And I think she will appreciate that, because my mother, is a retired entrepreneur. She owns her
Wow.
own. So
Yes.
she's gonna love that, because anytime something has entrepreneur behind it, she's gonna want to know.
I
And I
know that's right.
love it. Um, I do have a couple other questions before
Go
we go.
ahead. Good. Look,
I
go
wanted
for
to
it.
make
You are
sure
fine.
Mama's question was answered, and when I looked at the time, I was like, "Ooh, I can see if you a couple questions in."
Right.
Um, so one of the things that I wanted to kind of go back to is this. The next smack in the face was my daughter started calling her stepmom mom. I lost it.
Whew.
His new wife and I got into a screaming match while I was in Miami on a trip. So this right here can resonate. Now I'm also I'm a bonus mom. You know myself,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm that extra. So wherever I fit is where I'm supposed to
Right.
be.
I know that's right.
So that let's talk about that a little bit. I
Yes.
want to talk
Let's
about
go.
that.
Go. Let's go for it.
I
Yeah, we being transparent. Let's go.
yes, we are. We are. And so what I want to know for you, when when you heard it, okay, when you heard it, your I know your reaction is anger,
Oh yeah.
but did anywhere in there did you blame yourself for not being present in the process? And is that and thinking that that's why she started calling her mom?
No, because I was the full-time mom. I mean, I leave for a weekend. Next thing I know, my daughter comes back. Well, matter of fact, I'm on the phone with her, and all of a sudden she's like, "Mama, what? No, 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 no. We're not doing that." So it just became to be an issue. So for me, I was present 24/7. So I didn't understand. It's different if your mom died or your mom is not, around, and they call their stepmom mom. But he wasn't even getting her that much, maybe once a month. So I was
Mhm.
like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So no, I definitely didn't feel that at all.
Good, good.
Mm-mm.
Because I know sometimes that's what occurs.
Mm-hmm. It's
And I
true.
really wanted to hear from you,
Mm-hmm.
what were you feeling at, what was it that you were feeling at the time? Because
I was
yeah,
pissed, to say the least. That's a nice way. I
and
was
then
ready to catch a
also,
flight back.
did you when you started talking to your daughter about that, because this is something that's real. We have so
Mm-hmm.
many blended families.
Yes.
And granted, how everyone goes into their
Mm-hmm.
blended family is so different.
Right.
And um, so how did that discussion go with you and your daughter with that? Because I'm sure that's a pull for her, going to her father's house,
Mm-hmm.
home with you, you know, majority of the time, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's sometimes with him, but then feeling that pull. So how was that conversation that you had? Because I'm sure you aren't the only mother that has had to deal with such a thing.
Yep.
So I want to know how you were feeling.
So
How
at the
she
time, she was like
Mhm.
one and a half, maybe. So I would, for a little while, I would say, "Don't call her that. That's not her name." And eventually, talking to my mentor, my girlfriend that's older than me, she was just like, "Ruth, you got to let it go. Just when she gets older, she will understand." And she did. So we were able to have different conversations now because she's 12. But at the time, she didn't understand it. She just was doing what her dad told her to do, or what she felt was the right thing to do, and or what she was being explained. And
Mhm.
she really didn't understand it. The good thing is it's not like she was with them daily, so I don't really think it really made a big difference. But it definitely, when she was there, she still continued to call her that. So I had to stop rolling my eyes, and just be like, what, this is not about me, this is about
Mhm.
her. This is about, her being comfortable, and,
Yeah.
me showing that this is how you're supposed to act. You don't have to act, irrational and ignorant. You don't have to do stupid stuff and, yell, scream. I can show her how to react in this moment. And I dealt with it with grace. If I wasn't having a good day, I didn't even try to get out the car and say anything. I stayed in the car. I learned my triggers. I learned what I did like and didn't like. And I just continued to expound on that. And as the years went by, I began to have me and her begin to able to me and the stepmom was able to have a conversation, and then that conversation became a friendship.
Good,
Hmm.
good. And I'm sure that definitely helps your daughter
Oh
in the
yes,
process.
yes. It's weird, I think, to most, because we
Mhm.
don't really do that in the Black community that much. We're
Right,
typically at odds, but
right,
no, it's a blessing, and she's a support. She's part of my support system.
good.
Hmm.
Because and I asked that question because I do have a good relationship with my biological daughter's
That's
um,
good.
stepmother,
That's good.
and it's been, it's been from the beginning, even though we had to do some learning and some growing.
Oh yeah, we all look. We listen.
I had to woman up a lot of times.
Yes. And you don't know what the salt is being thrown on, on the
There
X.
you go.
And
Right.
I think once me and her were able to pull back the layers, it
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because sometimes the adults, we can make it worse than
Oh
it
yeah.
has to be,
Oh yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And I am so thankful that you decided, you know what, hey, she comes first.
Yep. That's my
Okay.
baby. She was the only child at the time too. So I was just like, you know what? Let me calm down. Let me regroup.
Right. Let me get my life right.
Yeah, I'm not a confrontational person or a violent person. So I was just like, you know what? Like what? And I mean,
Right.
I was young too, so I was just like not really able
Mm-hmm.
to fully grasp that until now, all
Right.
the way. But back then I was just like, I don't understand it. I don't like it. But you know what? I can't do nothing about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, my I know I talk about my mama a lot. She gonna love this episode. Talking about me again.
Look, I got an old soul. Look, my mom always, everybody always told me you got an old soul. So look, and the name Ruth is old. So
Oh,
look,
no,
listen, it might bring it out you.
I have to say this, y'all. The names that her and her siblings have. She's Ruth. Her sister's Heaven. So and I'm hoping y'all caught that when she was reading. Her brother is Boaz. Okay, boom.
Yep.
That's it. That's what I wanted to say. Okay.
Yes.
Um, I have
That's what
one last thing. I want you to in and I would say in 3 words, I want you 3 words, and there's 2 people I want you to describe in 3 words per person.
happened.
First,
3 words per person. Okay.
she's
Got it.
mm.
Woo, Jesus.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a few seconds to think about it. Okay, Ike, and then the second one is Barry.
Okay.
3 words per man. All right.
It don't matter what words I use. I can listen because I can go there.
Okay, so doesn't matter because we
Okay.
keep it real. This is
Okay.
this is grown folks
I
conversation.
know that's right. Okay. I got
Real.
you. Okay.
So and
Woo.
my thing is these were people in your life in your
Oh yeah.
book. Then 3 words. So we're gonna take let's take Ike first. Let's
Okay.
take Ike first, and then we'll move to Barry.
Okay.
Okay,
Ike,
3 words.
abuser,
Huh?
immature, and misguided.
Okay, now we're gonna take Barry. Character Barry.
Oh yeah, Barry's gonna take it to another level. Okay.
That's what y'all. That's why I had to say it. That's
Woo!
what it is.
Lord,
I was like,
my feelings for Ike ain't that bad now. Okay, that was a long time ago. Barry is still fresh. But I
so
was
there,
19 when I was with Ike. So look, woo,
right. So that's why I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just have her do three
Mm,
words per
okay.
person. 3 words per person. So now we're gonna do Barry. Okay.
Manipulator.
Hmm. See y'all.
I ain't gonna say what I was gonna say. Sorry ass dog.
Mm,
Um, mm, liar.
there we go, y'all.
Hmm.
Get the book. Read the book. Get the book so you can find out why she gave them each
Woo,
those three
woo, woo.
descriptive words. Okay, okay. So before we say our goodbyes, all right? I would like for you, a Ruth Proctor, to please give us your contact information where they can pick up this book. And remember, everyone, don't be sitting up there getting all in a tizzy going, why didn't you say all that? And she going to put it up on the screen and she going to have it in the description box and stuff like that. That's all. I'm trying to be
I love it.
professional. It's okay.
I love it.
So anything that she says will be not only running across the bottom of the screen, but it also will be in the description box for you to come back to. So if you don't have the money this week and you say I got it next week or I'm gonna have it next month or when I get my taxes, everybody gets taxes, okay? Then you can purchase some books, okay? So Avery Proctor, please let us know your contact information of where we could purchase your book at.
You can purchase my book at www.aruthproctor.com. If you're on Instagram, you can shop right from your Instagram cart, right on my page, a.ruth proctor on Instagram. On Facebook, same thing. You can click the link on Facebook, a Ruth Proctor, and I am also on YouTube at Ruth Proctor.
All right, y'all heard it, okay? I didn't have to say it, and I want to thank you so much for the
Thank
time
you.
gave to us today. I hope
Thank
everyone
you.
had their tea and their coffee and you have enjoyed this podcast because I certainly have. And just remember, Joy Nook Club, that any all of the broadcasted interviews will be found up in the guide section above. And I'm going to leave you with this, and then we're gonna say our goodbyes because y'all know when Alenia start reading, she start reading,
I
okay?
know that's right.
Don't act up. All right. All right. His ultimate plan is what's birthed inside of me and use something beautiful out of pain. We are those roses that grow from concrete. Written by A. Ruth Proctor. Enjoy your Saturdays, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much.